Hey everybody, here with the 2020 YFZ 450R. Seen a lot of videos regarding the big three with the ECU, the exhaust, and the air intake, and left a couple of questions out there to be desired on some of these videos, so I thought I'd do one on my project. I ordered the Vortex ignition ECU. I've got Fat Boy 4 from Duncan Racing coming in on Monday, and then I got the GCI air intake as well. That'll be coming in a little later. But to get ready for all that, I thought I'd get everything prepped and torn apart, show you guys how to do it. So I've already got the programmer on there, which really woke this thing up. So if you're not looking to do all three in order, I highly suggest doing the Vortex tuner first. You can always take the spark arrestor out of your stock exhaust and pull the lid off to get an idea of how it wakes this thing up, and it was night and day. So if you're gonna do one first, I would do the Vortex, and then you can move on to the full exhaust and the intake. So the only thing I've done so far, obviously taking the lid off. I got the three pieces of plastic and the seat. And with this ECU is pretty easy. You just take these two 10mm bolts off here, and there's just two rubber grommets. I got those loosened up for you. Whoops. Two rubber grommets on the side of this box, so you can kind of just pull apart. Kind of stuck in there pretty good, and all of this will come down all together. There we go. I needed two hands to pull this apart. So you got a rubber grommet here, a plastic grommet rather. Okay, all this is connected, so you have the two bolts up top, 10mm. Coming around to this side, same thing over here. You can kind of just pull this off. Kind of hard to do with one hand here. Underneath here. Right up here by that tape. Kind of pry on that with two hands a little bit without breaking it. Okay, so there's the other one. And then with those, this stuff will kind of slip out. You still get your brake light harness and stuff there, and I just kind of set it out of the way. Now with your ECU, here's the old one, okay? Mounted on a bracket like this, and you'll have two harnesses here. You can just kind of push them up with your thumb. I got them already zip tied out of the way. This one here and this one here. They're kind of mounted to this bracket here. Connected on the old one are a few of these rubber grommets. They kind of sit in between, and then you've got these metal pieces, one on each side, just spacers really, that sit in between them. I took a pair of pliers and pulled them off of there because the new Vortex bracket, you can see in here, this metal piece, it sucks into the plastic, and I reused that rubber grommet because I liked having a little bit more cushion on there, so that with vibration and stuff, it's not bouncing this bracket around, maybe coming loose, I don't know. So I reuse those. You can't use these because once you add in the Vortex bracket with those rubber grommets of the spacers in there, the stock bolt here is not long enough to tie it back in. So I squished those rubber grommets in there and reused them. As much as these Vortex ECUs are, I was kind of pissed that this chintzy rubber mount is on here like this. It seems kind of cheap for something this expensive, but it's all I've got. I've seen a couple other guys have cages and stuff. I'll probably get one of those eventually. And without messing with the wiring harness too much, it sits a little bit cockeyed, you know, because the wires are pretty stiff. But when you pull that ECU out, the old one, be really careful. Let's get here and get a look. Really careful with the tabs. Okay, so all you got to do is push on that, put your hand on both sides, and just pull down gently. When you take the old one off, wait to take these bolts out until you unplug it. It's just easier to pull straight down so you're not doing damage to your wiring harness when you unplug that thing. And then you can take your bolt out of here and your bolt out of there, pull your rubber grommets out, and then I'll probably keep this just in case. That Vortex right now, I'm working with Duncan Racing, and they recommend map 9 with 566. So I've got it on 566 right now, but I do have it on map 7. And once I get everything else, I'll probably play between map 7 and map 9 just to see the differences, but that's what they recommend. So I've got 566, low, medium, high, and then map 7. Kind of like the fact that it keeps the rev limiter pretty close to what it is stock, so that's what I got my settings on. Once that bracket's on there, this rubber piece just slides in. They give you good instructions, but it's just cheap. I think these things are going to rip eventually, and I'll end up buying one of those cages. So I plug that in, put it in there, and then when you fire these things up, people are complaining they run like crap, and they do, but Vortex will tell you that the first minute or two is this thing kind of booting up and recalibrating, you know, and kind of doing some readings, and that's been true for me so far. I've had it popped off a couple times, and the thing kind of spits and sputters for a few seconds and kind of normalizes, so I don't have any concerns there. They identify that as being normal, but man, did it wake the throttle up, holy cow. So that was the first upgrade here. Once the intake's in here, we'll pull all this stuff out a little bit later. You got your rubber boot, and it is just tighter than hell in here. I see a lot of guys complaining about the install here, but the one thing I'm not seeing on the videos, which I'm going to explain here, is with this AIS Delete. I see a couple videos showing how to do it, but what they don't talk about is once your intake is in, you get pretty much are forced to replace this, because that new intake does not have this little return here for that air coming off the AIS system. And so now you've got an open exposed hole here where you get dirt or junk in, and you really don't want that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take off all the AIS pieces. We're going to pull out all the stock intake, take the fuel tank off to get to some of the AIS stuff, and then pull the stock exhaust off and get everything ready for the new parts that are coming in here, hopefully next week. So part of this AIS, it's our first job. We'll have to take the fuel tank off, but it's AIS stuff. The other side might be a little better, but it's all this crap up front. And for those that haven't researched it, all that AIS system does, it's emissions related. So you've got some extra exhaust that comes off the front off of a plate, and it gets recirculated, and that air comes back down and gets recirculated into your air box to reduce emissions of some of the unused fresh air. I don't think it's really fresh air. I think it's kind of crap. So you're basically pumping dirty, nasty air into your air box and recirculates it to reduce emissions and use that air. So your intake automatically deletes that. But what I haven't found in a video yet is what the heck you do once your intake is on with some of this AIS system, because you've got this oil catch can here. People complain they're plastic, they're junk, that's fine, but I wasn't really planning on replacing this until I found out that the intake is deleting the portion of this box that has an opening into the air box. So you can do one of two things. You could drill a hole into a box that you get from your intake. Well, I didn't want to do that, and quite frankly, this stuff's really not needed with your AIS anyway. So what people are doing is they're going and they're deleting this box as well. Not deleting it, they're replacing it, and they're doing all kinds of things with, you know, mounting. There's an expensive Walsh one that goes here, Duncan can goes up here, and then I think it's 38 Motorsports, the one I picked. It kind of mounts up underneath the handlebars, which I thought was a little bit cleaner than some of these other options. So that's the route I went, and that one's on order as well. So pretty big project. So four main things here with your intake getting swapped out. They're going to swap this as well with the new 38. We're going to take off the AIS and then the Fat Boy 4 National Pipe system from Duncan. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. One other thing too, guys, seeing a couple different options in terms of staying organized for you that are a little nervous about tearing into something like this. I'm really not that mechanical. Kind of learn as I go and watch a ton of videos and try to replicate what people are doing out there. But one of the things I found on the forum has helped me tremendously is I'll take little sandwich bags, and as I tear things apart, I'll label them on what they came from, and I'll put a number of the order of things coming off. So, you know, this is just an example. I know that's off my plastics. I put it number 1. It's the first thing I did, you know, and I'll just add more bags. And then if there's socket sizes or things like that, I'll write what the socket size stuff, socket sizes were on the bags and stuff. So that way I can just work that numeric value backwards and know exactly what size the parts are, where they go, stay organized. And I got small kids, so I can't really afford to leave all my stuff laying out in the garage and then stuff getting mixed up. So I, you know, pack all this stuff away up in between and, you know, not get lost. So that's been really helpful for me. So kind of walked you through what we did with Vortex. We'll get that button back up, and then we'll start pulling off the AIS stuff. We're going to work on this AIS first. I'm going to take the fuel tank off here. Got to get the front plastics off first. Get the back ones off. Pretty simple. I like these 450s, and these little release tabs are way easier than those cheap plastic ones that a lot of them come with. Got a couple more down here underneath. Just 2 of them there in the front. Just slide right off. There we go. When we get to the oil catch, I believe it's going to mount somewhere in here. Again, pretty slick compared to others. Now we're going to take this tank off. You got a bolt here, over here, and then this back one here. Should be about it. And I was wrong. These are actually quick release. Those aren't bolts, so we have to pull off here. So once you get this one here, take that one off, you should be able to slide this tank back and just pop through the holes here. I'm not sure if there's anything else that holds on or not. I guess we're going to find out. And hopefully I can just set this tank off to the side, get these connections all squared away, and start working on the AIS. On the fuel tank here, there's just a little tab that pulls off. This piece here is just like a locking mechanism, pulls straight up. And then this is just a cap that gets stored here, so once we pull this off, we can cap our gas tank and take it all the way off. Pretty slick, good design. That was pretty easy. Pulled that thing off. I just needed 2 hands to do it. I put my bolt back in here, cap that off so it's not leaking. Now you got a couple different options with this setup. The Duncan design for their oil catch can that replaces this, they have you throw this away. I wasn't real excited about that. They got you trimming the tabs off to hold the tank, and then they have you throw this whole thing away because I think their can sits up a little bit taller in the way here. So I'm not going to be doing that with the 38 one that I bought, but I am going to remove this, or at least pull it up so I can get to the AIS behind here, start pulling that stuff off. Well, for those of you who've done this before, probably were laughing at that part of the video because I'm doing it wrong. I pulled this tab up and then didn't realize all of this AIS crap is actually attached to this plastic. I didn't know that. So we're going to have to take this one off. Looks like there's one on the other side before we start pulling this all apart. So there's a piece here. Get that one off. All this stuff gets deleted. This hose, I'll have to take this cover off as well. I know I've seen that part of it. Let's go to the other side real quick. Show you my plan. At least you can see it better with the gas tank off. So this AIS has a little piece here to hold your cables in place. And I'm going to keep that. I liked Duncan Racing's design, not design, but their idea where you're going to take off, get a picture in here, right here, this is your AIS right here. This pipe coming out of it, right here, and then if you look down here, this pipe goes right to the top there, and there's another nasty little bolt in there you take off. I think I saw that in a previous video. They had a pretty good design of pulling all this stuff out. So we're going to disconnect some hoses here, and then that plastic piece, and there's one more hose, easier from the other side, up in there. That's connected to it as well, and that plug. So that one just drains straight down to the ground. Give that a shot first. Anyway, I was saying once you pull all this off and this AIS tube up here is pulled off, you can remount with that AIS block off plate with this on the front of it with the existing bolts, so that you got a cable holder still. I thought that was a great idea, so we'll be doing that as well. So first thing I'm going to do, hop on the other side, start pulling this garbage off. We'll see how it goes. So I'm back on this side. This hose coming down right here is connected to the AIS. There's a little bracket here. Let's pull that off. So I'm going to pull that whole thing off. Little bracket piece. Pull it out of here. It's connected to the coolant. So that's all going to come out. Trying to do this one-handed, guys. Okay. So I'll just let that dangle because it's still all connected up here. Then I'm going to take this little guy out. So I got this little critter here. Take that one out. That was connected to the plastic. There it goes. And then we've got one on this side. Same thing. I'll pop in the other side and pull that one off. Should take care of it with one more over here. So back on the other side, down here. This is part of your AIS here, and way back in here, it's that little screw I was talking about. We'll take that one out too. See where I'm at. So you can see I've got that out. It's this little guy right there. Pull that out. There's a plug. I'm going to hop on the other side and get that off real quick. Pull some of these hose clamps off. That'll help get things moving a little bit. So this is everybody's favorite plug right here. Throw some electrical tape on it or a fake plug. Kind of seems to be the consensus there. And pull this hose off next, get it out of the way. Alright, I found out one thing because it was kind of hard to see. The hose that I pulled out earlier, that's just a drain from here. So I'm actually, once I get all this cleaned up, I'll plug that back in. So you get water or something splashes in here, just splash guard. It's just going to run the water down and take it past your frame. Not a big deal. It's kind of in the way anyway. So we'll hook this back up once we're done getting all this crap out of here. I popped back over to the right side of the quad. I was kind of fighting that plug over there. So I actually disconnected this one first. And now I got a lot more room to play with to get that plug off on the other side. I was having issues getting to this little critter. Pull all this crap out of there and get that plug off. Okay, that plug was a pain in the butt. I don't know why. But the best way, a little piece of it broke off. Best way is to take a screwdriver and pinch it. I couldn't get both hands in there. Get that stupid plug out of the way. And then all this shit comes out and does not go back on. Garbage. Take electrical tape, tape that sucker up. It's fine, you're not going to do anything with it. And I put that hose back in there, snugged up that little black piece here, holder, just a drain. So that's the first part. Now we're going to go in and get that bolt here, and on the other side you can see it, there's one over there too, and we'll pull off that portion of it. It's also attached to here on the back side on a bracket, so you'll have to loosen that one too to get that off of there. You know, getting into these tight spots and stuff, if you don't have like a flex drive, like I got a Cobalt flex drive, it is just super handy. It can bend into all kinds of weird situations to get that stuff out of there. I highly recommend it. Some of these are a pain in the ass to get to, so that's what I'm going to be using today. So I ended up using an Allen wrench. It was not working real good to get this one loose right here, and I'm heading to the other side to get that one. So this side in here is about as tight gets, but it does fit. You can only do about a quarter turn at a time. Pain in the butt, but it does work. Alright, so those two bolts came out. Behind it's a little gasket. I think these get replaced. If you notice, one side, a little blurry, is raised from being against the engine. The other side's real clean, so I'll probably replace that with a fresh one. It kind of acts like a crush washer gasket deal. And then there was a bolt here on the bracket, same exact size. That comes out, it's got a little rubber washer on it. I'll put that with the AIS bag. And then this piece is loose. Get your cable holder. We'll get this pulled out of here real quick. Set that aside. Alright, I got that thing off. It's kind of a jigsaw puzzle. Best way, I just took this hose clamp off, pulled this down, pulled this out, and then pulled it up to the top. I didn't want to scratch a bunch of stuff up, so that's the easiest way to get out of there. So the next thing to do on this little piece is take this tube and cut it off anywhere. It doesn't really matter. Just grind that thing off of there, because then you still have a nice cable holder. I have a hard time grinding something off a $10,000 machine, but it's just a cable holder, and you'll never be putting this back on. So that'll be something I do. I'll just cut it off here at the base, and when we get the new one, the new block off plate, the gasket, new gasket will go on, then that block off plate, and then I'll put this cable holder back in place to hold all these up. That way that's out of the way. Some people just let this slouch, and I just wanted that up and out of the way. Make sure it's out of the way for the exhaust. And yeah, that's the front side of the AIS. Let's make our way to the other side. I'm going to put that stuff in a bag along with this AIS number 2 for labeling purposes. Those are the only pieces I've pulled off that I'm still keeping, so we'll bag that up quick. So back here on the other side, once you have your front part of your AIS out of there, it was connected to this tube that runs along the side, held together here with the plastic. This doesn't go to your air box, it goes to your air intake on the back side. It's really hard to see, but there's another one of these on the end, and underneath the rubber intake is the other end of this hose. So that's where the air coming off of the front of the exhaust here from that area here would normally recycle into your intake to use some of those fumes up to help your emissions. Well, a lot of guys will just plug this off if they're not doing a new intake, but all this crap for me is coming off because my intake is coming off and I'm doing the GCI system. So I'm just going to leave this here for now. It's going to come off when we get to the intake here after I take the air box off and stuff, but this is all junk. If you're doing a new intake, it'll delete it. So I think the last video, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but they put a plug in this and put it back up there, and away they go. So if you're keeping your stock intake, then plug this with the kit. I believe they give you a plug for this. You can probably even cut it, hide it up in there, get rid of some of the junk, but this is all junk. So now I'm moving on to the air box removal. We'll get that going. Alright, so up here, these are all 10mm. This one, that's 10 as well, I believe, yep. So you'll probably have to at least loosen these because the air box tucks under here. I'm not real sure about the custom one, whether that tucks under there or not, or goes on top. We'll find out when it gets here. But I'll take this box out, air filter. From what I understand, this thing's a bitch to get out and to get the new one in, but we'll just take our time. Air sensor here will come off. I believe there's a port for the new one to slide right in there. So yeah, I think I'm going to start with the intake band, which hopefully there's enough room under here. Not a lot. Okay, so it looks like, see right through that hole. Kind of hard to see, but in here's the band. I have to take the band off so we can take this air box out of here. So we'll start with that. Alright, trying to get a better view for you here. So this band right under here. Probably still can't see this dang thing. So it's connected down here. So you're going to take your air box off and do new intake. There's the first thing to come loose there. Get that undone. Get that band off of there. Make things a lot easier. When you put these back on, make sure you install it so you can reach it. You try to put it up the top, it's just a bare reach, so this one's in a lucky spot, I guess. So in order to get to that thing on the band, I got a nice long bit on top of these tubes. This is about the best angle I could get to crack that thing loose. So we'll get that thing unloose and we'll get that band off. All right, I got it loose. I did not remove it all the way. Let's see if I can get in there with it just being, you know, loose by hand. So that's enough there. You are going to take these off. If you look underneath, they're tied in. So we're going to do those 4 next and see if we can get this box out of here. And we'll start messing with this oil catch. Get that one loose. Pull those out quick. All right, I got those out and I realized I think I was saying GCI. I'm doing the FCI. I'm sure I'll catch shit for that one. It's Fuel Customs intake that I've got on order. It's not here yet. But that's the system I'm going to be putting back in. I got those 4 bolts out. We'll pull this box and oil filter. Be careful when you're pulling on here, just so you're not going to break anything in case you ever put it back. I don't know why you would, but we'll get this box pulled out of here and then we'll start working on this little guy. So I went to pull up on this thing and realized this is all one piece. So I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%, but that bolt must go all the way through unless that's just that housing, but I don't see anywhere to get it off from here, but it's definitely threaded as one piece here. So that'll have to come off if I can pull this box out, and we'll go from there. Alright, so in there, connected to your airbox, pull this bolt off, and then this little guy, that plug is in the side of your airbox. You can see both connections right there, no big deal. And then what that plug went to was that little side vent into your airbox. So all that stuff's coming out of there. Just gonna let this hang for a minute here. Pull this airbox out. Okay, and that should just lift out. Take a couple hands. Yeah, I was trying to pull this out, and I'm going to loosen up these two to get this bracket out of the way. It's just going to be a lot easier instead of fighting it. Give me some more clearance. Alright, so I loosened up that one and that one. That bracket pulled right off. Looks like this thing's going to come off pretty easy now. So that band's loose. Get the box off the side, and there we go. Piece of cake. Okay, that box is off. That wasn't too bad. Set that aside. Here's the bracket I pulled off. I'll probably put that back on just so I don't lose it. There's little spacers underneath the bolt. Make sure you don't lose those. Other than that, you can see the stock one comes in here and makes a quick turn for the air. It just kind of shoves it in there. I think that Fuel Customs intake looked pretty awesome. This thing's pretty darn restrictive, so I look forward to getting that thing off. Doesn't look too bad. Couple hoses and the air sensor and another one of those nasty bands on the other side of here. I should be home free for the teardown part. We shall see. So next step, I'm going to take off the oxygen sensor, get that out of the way, and then go to the front by the throttle body. You follow this rubber box or the intake up there. There's another band, smaller one. It's a bitch to get to as well. But other than that, I believe that this hose is going to come with it when I pull it out of there. That was part of that AIS intake return. And I'm not sure if there's anything else in here. I guess we'll find out. Let's take this oxygen sensor off and get that out of the way. Before I get going on this oxygen sensor, I was just taking a second look, and the box, this oil catch can, I'm going to go ahead and pull some of the stuff off here. So this one's the return to the crankcase, and I'm going to actually leave that on the crankcase, just number one, to keep it clean for right now with this hose still on there. If you follow this one all the way back, there's also this little tab right here. You can pinch out with your finger. That's also connected to the air intake. So to get those hoses out of the way, you can pull that tab off, get these hoses will drop. But this one going back to the crankcase, I'm going to pull off this box. It ends up, it's this one right here. It goes back down in the crankcase. I'm going to leave that on for right now. I believe my replacement box that mounts up here comes with new hoses, but I'm not sure. And if I don't have to take stuff off right away, then I'm not going to. So we'll just kind of pull this little guy out of the way. Should be pretty easy. Pull this one off. Okay. And then pull it through. Out of the way here. It's going to end up coming up here if I have to use this one. If not, it'll have one coming from the aftermarket kit. So we'll just stick that up out of the way for right now. And this other one, we're just going to pull this clip off. Oops, I dropped it. And then this thing can drop out of the way. So this is part of your intake here. That way that can come off freely when we're ready to get that one off. All right, just a quick update here on this end. I was talking earlier about plugging this if you're not doing the air intake. This is the only piece left that's connected to my air intake. And I was looking in the metal band in the front next to the throttle body, and it is a pain in the butt. I don't think I'm going to be able to show it, but if you start right here next to the throttle body and you take your finger, go up under here, you'll feel the band. I think I can get a screwdriver straight up through here to get to it, to loosen it, to pull the other side of this off after I get my oxygen sensor off. And then this will pull out along with the AIS return. And that should be it. That should be everything I'm going to tear down. Boy, it's tight in here. There's just no room at all. Not really looking forward to putting it back together, but we'll just take our time. See if I can show that up in there. There's the band.